Hi, Corey.
Hello, hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yep, a little delay, but it's fine.
Okay, perfect. So, welcome to our Nomad Stays Co-Live Meet the Team.
Yay.
So, for everyone out there, my name is Lena. I'm a community manager stays at nomadstays.co. And I'm here with Corey, and Corey is our operations manager. And I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much for the invite. This is great.
So how are you doing? Where are you?
I'm well. I am in the Great Lakes region of the U.S. I'm in Michigan, where I was born and raised. There's not very much nomading happening for me during the pandemic.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about you. What are you doing apart from staying in Michigan during the pandemic?
Well, this has been a nice time to just be really still and focus inward, I guess one could say. I'm a new father, so I've been able to spend a lot of time with my daughter, so that's been really cool. And then I've also, I work as a consultant with a bunch of different companies, so I've been able to really just spend a lot of time doing that. But I'm really eager to get on an airplane as soon as possible.
Yeah, so you're mainly working online, so you're a digital worker as well. So
yes,
all of you.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Yep, I work 100% digital and remote. I do have a nice little camper van, so I was able to. I took a lot of road trips. So one I did a road trip from California to Michigan in the summertime. And then I spent a lot of time in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is really close to Canada, in the woods. A lot of camping, a lot of fishing, a lot of canoeing, kayaking, that kind of thing.
Okay, so when apart from COVID, you're like traveling all the US, or are you also like going through all the world?
Just the U.S. really. So my road trip started in California. So I was like San Diego all the way across the United States, the middle of the United States, and then up into Michigan. So we have a beautiful area called the Ozarks, which is really great down in like Kentucky and Arkansas. That's really fantastic. There's some really great mountainous stuff in Pennsylvania, which is good to always check out. But here in my home state of Michigan, there's tons of forests and woods and lakes and rivers. So that's just been a lot of what I've been doing.
Sounds great. Must be beautiful there. I've never been to the US. For me, it's something I never experienced. So it's great to hear.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why my family is here is because my grandmother on my mom's side, my maternal grandmother, is from Austria in the Alps in Tyrol. And when she moved to the U.S. after the World War, she found that Michigan, especially, reminded her most of home. And there was a lot of fellow like Austrians and Germans here as well. At one point, we had in my hometown here, we had 22 German language newspapers.
Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy. So have you been to Austria as well?
Of course, yeah, many times. When I was a kid, I was my Oma. She would spend summertime in Austria in the Alps and Tyrol, and then a few other spots where we had family, and many summers I would go and just hang out there, and in the village where we're from, or where I spent a lot of time, Hazelgare. It's about an hour south of Munich. Hour's drive over the Huntenjoch Pass if you want to take the shortcut, and then there's more cows than there are humans.
Yeah, well, Well, it looks like it's the same in Michigan, right?
Well, it can be, yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. So when you're traveling, when you're on the road, you're also working. How does that work for you? Like, what are maybe the advantages of traveling and working, and maybe the disadvantages or the problems you're facing while working in a forest, kind of?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there is a stereotype about the U.S. that our infrastructure is always really great, and that's unfortunately not the case. We can be outside of a city center and then not really have much signal as far as for our mobile devices or for broadband internet access. In a lot of parts of the U.S., it's just as bad or as worse as many parts in India or
Oh, wow.
or say like Eastern Africa that's still working on developing their infrastructure. That has been a big problem for our digitization here during COVID, especially with schools and the children. So we're having a lot of discussion about how much time of our kids losing as far as education.
Yeah.
So even some neighborhoods within cities in the U.S. Are it's as if you were in the forest because the neighborhood just hasn't had the investments of infrastructure that maybe some better off parts of or more rich parts of neighborhoods and towns are. So anyway, besides that, besides navigating that, which is not a unique problem for people like us that work totally remote, I just have to make sure that I pick the right kind of campground at the right time to have my meetings, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So I have to really plan my travels very smart and plan ahead. Be very careful that I have my meetings at times where I know I'm going to be close to some steady connection, like today. So I'm not in a cabin to go ice fishing today, and I'm not going to be skiing today because I'm having a conversation with you.
Yeah. Okay, so it's all about planning, basically.
Yeah.
And you said like the internet is not very well in certain areas, but what about like co-working places? Do they have a lot of co-working places around the area where you live or where you travel?
Yeah, so co-working spots are fairly popular throughout the U.S. However, at this moment, there is no coordinated way across the United States as far as handling the COVID restrictions. So one does not know if they're driving into a new city, if the co-working place is open or closed, if their profile is updated. So one must call ahead. And again, more planning. Planning is really the key there. There are some areas that are totally open. Some are just limited to like how many people can be around. Others are open but not for guests. And then especially if you're coming in from a outside region, there are mandatory but not enforced different levels of quarantine required. So it's
sure.
more planning. And because in the U.S. you can be in a different state in a few hours, and you can be in 4 different states in like a single day drive, each one of them with all of their different restrictions and no real strict borders, right, as far as entry. It's not like traveling through much of the world. Yet in each state there are very different laws and policies.
Yeah, I understand that. It's the same in Germany, basically. So there are so different restrictions everywhere you go as well. So it's hard to get sometimes. And maybe tell us about your way to be what you're now. Like, how did you get to be a consulting, working mainly remotely?
Well, I've always had a strong desire to be away, and my favorite place has always been elsewhere. So if anyone ever asks me, where's your favorite place? I'm like, not here, elsewhere. Where can we go now? And that curiosity didn't really match what I was doing professionally. Eventually, I was I was working in restaurants and hospitality, growing restaurant companies, and I thought that if I just opened up more restaurants, I would not have like a prison or a cage. I just all I did though was I made 9 prisons instead of just one prison, um, and and there was one day specifically where I stood at the windows of the restaurant and I was watching everyone outside walking around, and I was just so jealous. And I made a decision at that point. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so, I basically had a physical reaction at that moment where my body was like, you must get out. So within weeks, I had quit that whole life and was completely location independent after that. And luckily, through personal relationships, I was able to find some clients, and now that's the way it's been, through referrals and personal relationships, to work with at least between 4 and 8 different organizations at a time.
Wow! So you really were very brave at that moment, like quitting your life as it was, and then doing something so different. So, I think connection is bad. I think the connection is very, very bad at the moment. Can you hear or see me at all? Hi there again.
Hey, hello.
Okay. Seems to be working again. Let's see for how long. So, let's pick up where we got lost. So you were talking about like that you have been very brave to leave apart like your life as it was, and then started something totally different, and just I think you were talking about giving advice about doing that or not.
About not doing that.
Okay.
My benefit at that time was that I was just totally alone to myself, so I didn't have any responsibilities. Like, I didn't have a spouse, I didn't have a partner, I didn't have a child. Now I have a child, so my brain is in a different spot where I just would not be able to do that. Or I would choose not to. I would choose to do it in a different way. So now things have different criteria before I jump.
Sure.
Before I would just like leap and be like, "Yay, this is great! What? I don't have a parachute. Okay, whatever." But now it's a little bit different. One of the best things that I did was plug into global networks to really widen my my access to entrepreneurs. And the biggest global network that has really moved things for me is Startup Grind.
So, where did we lost connection?
Well,
I think it was again when you were giving advice to maybe or when you said you didn't want to do it all over again and start fresh again because a family.
Because I have family now. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm a single dad. Like, we are co-parenting, and so while I do have a lot of freedom because of that, I still, anytime I do something, the first thing in my mind is how does that affect my daughter, and how does it affect my role, my ability to be available to her at any time, which is one of the main reasons why, even though during the pandemic I'm here, I'm home, I'm where I grew up, I'm not going to plug into a traditional job because I'm too addicted to the concept of being incredibly flexible and independent. And that's really for my relationship with my daughter. So anyway, I can't just hop on a plane and be gone. I still, however, I do have enough flexibility where I can take my camper van and go places. I can arrange to be away for some period of time, but things are just a little different now. That's all.
Yeah. So since you already lived through it, what would you recommend others that would start new as remote workers?
Well, research is always great, right? Prepare. As a former restaurant person, or I think you never actually get that out of your blood. If you're ever a restaurant person, you're always a restaurant person. One of the biggest rules any good chef will teach you is prepare, and then create. They have a whole theory behind this called mise en place. It's everything in its place, right? And everything is all organized, and everything is just so, and then we act. And that way, for the guest, for the diner, it might seem like this grand ballet that is happening, and it's just everything is so spontaneous, but none of it is spontaneous. It is all. It's all very, very well planned to the final detail. And if you can do that with any project, whether you're a project manager or a social media manager or a manager of people, that's when you can make it look very effortless. And people are just like, what? How do you do this? I know, right? I'm a genius. No, I'm not a genius. I just am prepared. That's the one piece of advice that I can give.
Well, it's a good advice.
There's a really great book that's fairly recent, and this author, it's a U.S. American author, it's an American published book. It's called Work Clean, and it is using the thousands of years old ancient techniques of master chefs, not even just from the French mise en place, but what inspired them, which goes all the way back to Japan and China. How to apply the ideas of mise en place to a corporate business, day to day. How do I run my life? I've I've given away dozens of copies of this book, and people are just like, "Oh, this is so great." It's called Work Clean.
Okay, so check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, and like, how did you started planning the whole thing? Like, you said you also had good connections, like a good network you could start with and talk to in order to start your consulting business. So, how exactly did you start it from, like, having all these restaurant cages and then being a digital remote worker?
I love the restaurant cage. Yes, that's
Yeah, I do too.
it literally has bars. You're just like, let me out of here. So I was, I was already in the middle of my career. So, in being in that stage of a career, you typically have developed some network, right? So, if I had just started out and be very young, then I wouldn't have that benefit. So I was able to start with some network, and then I plugged into deeper, bigger networks. Like WeWork, the international co-working space, they have a food labs. And so I became an expert in their food labs, which meant that I was able to provide advice and have office hours to food tech and food business startups around the globe. I plugged into Startup Grind, which I mentioned earlier. I don't know if we got that part of that because of the
I don't think so.
But that's the world's largest network of mostly technology entrepreneurs. 125 countries, 600 chapters. There's not a spot on the planet it doesn't touch, and that's been really great for network. And then the planet most of the planet has access to LinkedIn. And now that the pandemic has forever changed the earth, we are more connected than ever. And the digitization of the planet has been accelerated by 10 times. So it's no more possible now than ever before to live a lifestyle that is 100% your own. And that's, I think, really great.
And which platform, apart from LinkedIn, do you recommend also to use for digital business at the moment?
All of them.
All of them.
It's amazing what is behind like any kind of door. You just don't know. Mm-hmm. So if it's TikTok, if it's Instagram, if it's Facebook, I mean, I'm everywhere. I found a handle where I can have the same handle basically everywhere, so I'm easy to find. And this new one, Clubhouse, that's been really, really great. But it's important to stay focused and really understand who your customer is, and that's for any business. Like, and most people, it's surprising how many people don't actually identify who their customer is. They're so busy just trying to get any kind of work. And for the restaurants that I advise, a lot of times that's one of the biggest problems is they're just trying to do too much. The basics of business and being in service to other people has not changed for thousands of years. And so most turnaround experts, when they go into a business, they're like, okay, everyone stop. Let's go back to basics. Like that's all. That's basically all any turnaround expert ever does.
So focus is also very important, right? Yeah. So people that want to start as a remote worker, would you recommend doing consulting also? So maybe what else did you go in your mind through when you were thinking, I want to go everywhere I want, and then what can I do with it? What else did you think about?
Well, I had to apply the same kind of critical, goal setting and thinking that I always recommended others to do. So, there are 5 areas of life that I focus on as far as setting a goal and a long-term goal and visionary. And I met someone, she's got she does this thing called, she says she creates visionaries. And if you ask her at a party what she does, she's like, I make grown men cry, because she's usually helping these middle-aged executives identify what their vision is for themselves, not their business, but for themselves. And so what that is being really selfish and identifying what you want your life to look like in, say, 5 years from now. And that's in 5 areas. That's like personally, professionally, family, business, spiritually, and then, there's always finance. Like, then the finance is like the last part. If you can identify how you want your life to look like, all the other areas, the financial part can work itself out. And then that's just part of like changing the mindset on like what also like wealth is. And I was confused about this for a long time, because I thought wealth was dollars or pounds or Deutsche Marks or whatever whatever it was. But really focusing on the areas of like family wealth. There's a wealth in faith. It doesn't have to be religion, but whatever kind of faith. Health is a certain kind of wealth that is incredibly tangible. And if you don't have health, like what else can you do?
True.
So you have to take care of that and foster that. Education, so always be growing, right? And what can you share? And then philanthropy, and that's being giving. That's part about being connected to others. Whether you're doing that at an arm's length, like, okay, how can I help you, like across the street, or make it so you're not hungry for the next hour, or if you're philanthropic in a way where you're building a school or whatever. But and then the last thing again is financial, like wealth, which is always last. So.
Sure,
a lot of words for you there, but that's
no, it's good advice for people out there. I think it's good to hear from someone who's successfully doing something like that. So
and see, at the moment right now, I'm wealthy in every aspect except for
that's great. That's great to hear.
The financial part, like I don't have the financial part yet. Like
well, there's always like
this.
You can always get financial better at any place. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have millions or just cents on your account,
The account is not the best way to analyze the performance of your business or the performance of your person.
True. So what are you doing for Nomad States? Maybe you can explain that a little. You're our operations manager.
Well, I'm helping. I found, actually, Nomad Stays found me. Linda, one of the co-founders, found me on LinkedIn, and we just started chatting about what she's doing, and that came through my ecosystem and startup advisory that I do with Startup Grind. We just started chatting, and it seemed to be a very, very interesting project. And I, being like a fan of being elsewhere, right? I was just like, this is amazing. Like, I would love to do this. Like, I just basically said, how can I help? In what ways can I help? What ways do you need help? And right now I'm helping to develop content. So, and that is reaching out to influencers and bloggers and trying to bring on guest content. That way we can get our message out to a wider audience about what it is that we're doing and building for the community. So that's what I'm doing.
So if anyone wants to check out like the blogs, for example, you can find them on Global Adventure Nomads.co and also on Instagram. And so what is your plan for this year, maybe, to end up with? Like, if COVID is disappearing at some point, what are you planning? Where are you traveling next? What are you planning for this year? What are you hoping for this year, maybe also?
Well, so I've continued to build out the supplies for my camper van. So I expect to have, regardless of what happens with COVID, I expect to have a lot of fun adventures in the camper van. And I have I have thousands of dollars. That's where I'm wealthy. I have thousands of dollars in travel credits from all of my trips that were canceled last year. So I could go anywhere if I wanted to, able to, if any country would have me. I want to deplete all of those credits to zero in 2021. That would be really great.
That's great. Yeah.
And I made a promise to myself many years ago that I would never spend my birthday in country, so in the U.S.
Okay.
I broke that promise this year because no country would have me, not even Canada or Mexico. So, so hopefully, September 28th of 2021, I'll be in a different country.
Okay, or maybe your half birthday. Some people do celebrate that. Maybe that will work.
I like your idea. I like your style.
Okay, so thank you very much, Curry, for being here with us today. And if you want to check out more and want to see or hear more about us, go to nomadstays.co, our website, or to our Instagram site. Curry, where can we find you?
You can find me at Corey the Hart, CoreyThehart, everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes, absolutely. Ciao, cheers.
Bye.